Alrighty.
Library board meeting at 5:04 on June 8th. It's called to order. Second?
Second.
Okay, we're going to have approval of the minutes from May 2016 as they're presented.
So moved.
Okay, public comments?
Oops, I lost my.
Linda Van Haverbeek. Yay! Yay! Is that building beautiful? Are you guys great? Do it some more. I'm excited.
Thank you, Linda. Library director's report.
Okay. Thus starts a rather long report because we've got a lot of policies, but first, let me let you guys know that Monday we got an update from Link, their network at the county. They do our statistics, a few of these statistics for us, and we discovered that one day had not been included in the month, and so May was chopped to May 30 instead of May 31, and that made a difference. And so things like the direct loans to public, the self-checks, and the hold transactions were updated. And what that really means is that the checkout actually was 85% of this time last year as opposed to 81%. And including Library to Go and 3M, we're up to 86% rather than 82%. So actually a lot occurs in one day. It's enough to really make a difference. So just, since that did improve things substantially, I wanted to let you know about them. And then also I realized I had omitted the cultural passes, which for the month of May were 49 as compared to 42 this time last year. And this kind of ebbs and flows, but the cultural passes have been getting a lot of use. And I noticed that more months than not we're up a little bit from previous years. Not always, but sometimes. And so for whatever reason, I think that's really good. We've added a couple of cultural passes. We just added World of Speed.
World of Speed.
And before that, we added something else.
We added the house down in Salem.
Oh, the Gilbert House.
Gilbert House.
The Gilbert House, which is a children's museum, which is really awesome. So, and I just want to give a shout out to the Friends because they're the people who supply us with the funds to pay for these annually, which comes in at about just under $900 this year. So, it's a great contribution on their part, and it really goes a long ways. Because when you think about the families who then get to enjoy all these institutions, that's a lot of bang for your buck. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Friends. And I just wanted you to know about those changes in the statistics.
And they bring them into the library and you pick them up and take them back too.
Mm-hmm. Well, here at our library. And then let's see if there was anything insubstantial going on. We're starting to adjust our staffing in anticipation of our new organizational structure having we already have an adult services librarian and a youth services librarian, but we've made some more staffing changes on hourly staffing changes based on that so they could have more time off desk to do more of their work. And doing some staff training. We still have a couple of positions unfilled. So, we are in the middle of a building project, which makes you think about staffing, but we also have just some regular staffing stuff going on too. It doesn't just kind of stop. So all of that and more is going on. And as well as our monthly staff meetings. which we have a couple of people who take that task over of planning those every month. And so last month was particularly good because we had Ernest Hayes from Clackamas County Diversity Committee, and he just gave us this really fabulous overview of, we asked him about if he could address transgender kind of etiquette in some respect and kind of social like information so that we could deal appropriately with people who come into the library who are transgender. So for instance, somebody who's transgender might like to be known by something other than their name on their license plate or on their license, their driver's license, but we still have to have it, you know. So it was just a lot of that, but it was also this really big overview of like all kinds of LGBTQ, etc. terms and acronyms and this and that. And it was like he had 2 full pages of like kind of, you know, the ones that we know and the ones that are newer, and he was great. He was one of the best speakers we've had ever in the library because he was so open about just, you know, you just want to be kind generally, is like that, start with that and you'll be good, but feel free to ask questions kind of thing. You know, it made everybody feel a lot more comfortable about the topic and about dealing with patrons who may be transgender. So that was really, really good. Our programs last month in May were, we had a lot. We had like an adult program like once every week, and the Ruth Warner author one was fabulous. Some of these were just really good. The Columbia River Pines from the Past was really good. Even the ones that were like not attended by a ton of people were very, very good. And then the children's programs, just, I mean, the cute factor is crazy on the Lego and the art lab and stuff like that. And Barrett's really good because she takes pictures of the kids with their creations. So we always get to see those things too, and they're just nuts how cute they are. There she is, hey. But really good numbers for the story times, and May the 4th Be With You was really well attended. So that totally needs to be, and how many years have we done that? 3?
This is the 3rd year.
That's what I thought. And so we'll continue. Are you okay, Don?
I'm fine, I'm just coming over to you, but I didn't want to come.
Oh, okay.
I had one more piece of paper for
Oh my goodness. Lucky me.
you. Lucky you.
Lucky me. Secret notes. Oh, okay.
I've been busy.
Yeah, I see that. I should have just invited you in to do this in the beginning.
That's right.
So anyway, and then summer reading started June 1st, and I don't know what the latest count is. Do you have
I
any
think
idea?
we have 230 kids and
100 and something adults.
more than 100 adults and maybe 40 or 50 teens, or maybe it's 60. I can't remember.
Okay.
Close to that.
It's really going very well. You can see Darth is getting stickers all over himself, and that's every kid that signs up gets to put a sticker on Darth Vader. And fortunately, he's getting enough on them so that, you know, the ones that are a little strangely placed don't look too bad. Yeah, but and Gina Bacon, the adult services person, she went out and solicited like, what, 5 different raffle
At least.
items? At
Maybe
least.
more than that.
Yeah, really good ones too, to entice the adults to sign up. And so that's why we have like double than we've ever had.
Well, plus we gave away a book bag to the first
Really.
100
And you know what?
people.
Adults just love getting free stuff. You know?
Yeah.
I think it cost us $1 a bag, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And they just loved it. So, so pretty much we're going to be riding the coattails of summer reading for the rest of the summer. The only other event I know that's coming up is Pines from the Past Trivia Night, Oregon History Trivia Night. You should all form a team and come on down. It will be the night of June 27th, Monday, June 27th. So, I know, it's the same night as Foundation. Sorry, I won't be there. Yeah. So that's what I've got for just kind of the general report, and without going into building stuff and moving and all that stuff. And then,
Can I ask a question real
Yeah.
quick about, you have under staff topics that there was the difficult conversations. Do you have someone in the staff that's a point person for the homeless issue? I mean, that is so that if they were to go out and get additional information or even training, that they could support the rest of the staff? Is that something that,
we don't have anybody like that right now. And I mean, we could, our homeless population is, we have some people who we know are homeless, and then we probably have other people who have not identified as homeless. It's not, it's like, what, a handful of people?
Less than 10.
The ones that we know of.
so it's not
And we know
huge
them
issue.
pretty well.
Okay,
So, knock on wood, lately, our behavior problems due to mental health and or homelessness and or anything else has
Okay.
been really low.
okay,
So, and sometimes that's kind of a mishmash of what's going on. But I imagine that, I'm just imagining that we will see more homeless people in the library. And the only reason we really even know them is A, they're carrying their life belongings with them, or they're just there like so much, or actually talk to us about it,
yeah,
so it's not like we're trying to like find out. But if you want to take that question a little bit further and ask about like social, offering like social services and stuff in the library, we are a long way from that.
right.
It would be really interesting to look into, and other libraries are doing more stuff like that. But at this point, I'm more focused on finding training for staff that would be more along the lines of difficult people and or being able to diffuse difficult situations for whatever reason that they come up.
Right.
And some of them can be from mental health issues, and some of them just are from whatever,
Right, and that's why, because it was training that everyone was doing, I was just wondering how dramatic the problem was with those that are homeless or appear or identify as homeless.
Yeah.
And that I do know that some libraries have just point people on the staff that they work with homeless shelters, and so they're kind of that first person point of contact and
Right.
the support for the rest of the staff to go, oh, I know who that is, and I know who.
Yeah. And then we don't
So-
really have a homeless shelter.
Right,
We have a kind of a support place, our Father's Heart.
right. Oh, that's
But we don't really have we have no homeless shelter in
Right,
Oregon City.
right.
And I'm kind of surprised that we have not had more interaction with and problems recently, because I know like in Parks and Pioneer Center, they are having some problems.
Yeah, it's just going to push its way south.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, it's out there on my horizon, but right now it's just kind of like, how do we deal with any situation that is escalating,
right.
regardless of the cause? Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the people I sent are the people that tend to have more interaction, like, with the public, like all day long. So, all right, that's that. Any other questions on that? All that good stuff. Okay. So can we first address like the content of the rules, the behavior rules, before we start addressing the grammar of the intro and stuff?
That'd be great.
And let's see here. It would have been really nice if I would have like let you know what I added specifically, or brought myself a copy that had red line on it. But, let's see here. We added under, we addressed the weapon thing under 3. Go to page 1. We, under 4, we added controlled substance, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. We, under 5, we added the whole, we added a whole nother like section of ORS. And that was disregarding another person's reasonable expectation of privacy with the upskirting and the down blousing. And boy, you can just like find all kinds of ways to invade people's privacy once I started looking into that little topic. So that's why we kind of put the umbrella thing there. So that's number 5. Number 6, we included harassment. So it was a little bit more beyond the scope of just disruption to also include harassment. Let's see, number 7, we added a little phrase about obstructing the use of furniture through storage of large personal items. Remember we had talked about most of these a little bit. Number 8's the same, number 9's the same. And then also wherever it said on the library premises, I had just said library. I don't really want to deal with the park. We are not in charge of the park. If we see something happening, we'll certainly do what we can, but we cannot supervise the park. And so, yeah, it just is too much. So I just changed that because that was going to be unreasonable. On the next page, number 11, we addressed the interfering with free passage into and in the library. I tried to put like things together. I may have not have managed to do that. I think that we're all the way down to, I may have shortened a couple of them too. Number 21, we changed children, the unattended children's policy, so they both are reflective of this. With or within sight of a responsible adult or sibling who's at least 10. And then we added as that paragraph, please be advised about the children's room. That didn't seem like really, in some respects it's not a rule, but I want people to know right up front that they're going to be asked to move, and I want them to understand why. So we talked a lot about the phrasing of this in the past, so I'm hopeful that we're close to nailing it. And then I don't think the other policy had addressed the repeat offenses. So, in general, how are we doing?
I have a question on the 3rd paragraph
Of
on the 1st page. Before the period of time listed below, did I miss?
Yeah, there's nothing listed. I caught that too.
Okay. Yeah.
Me too.
Like if you spit in the library, you're gonna be out for 2 days. I didn't find anything like that. So
Don would like strike that paragraph anyway, so.
Well, not really.
I would, see, so back in the old days, we
Yep.
used to have this, I just would take that phrase off. And I should have, thank you for noting that. Because back in the old days, and some libraries still do this, they have it kind of set up in like, this is such a big infraction that we're gonna, if you do this, you're gonna be kicked out and you're gonna be gone for like, a month. And then this group of infractions is like this length of time. And then this group of infractions is, we'll give you a warning and, and then the second warning, you're gonna be kicked out or something. And I just didn't wanna be that specific on these things. I mean, I really don't want to set it up that way. So I just as soon take that phrase off, and thank you for noting that.
So you're talking about where it says repeat offenses?
No?
No? Where are you looking?
I'm looking at
Okay, the third one there?
the third paragraph. If it says that in the
It's right over
repeat
here.
offenses, then I should take it off there.
Listed below, but there's no listing below.
On the third paragraph you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll take that off.
okay. But then it picks up again on page, whatever it is on my page, it's 3, where it says repeat offenses. Individuals who repeatedly violate these behavior rules and having been previously excluded for library rule may face longer exclusions than indicated in these guidelines. So again, we go back to something that's not indicated in the guidelines as far as a time period of exclusion.
Then what I'd like to do is then take that off,
Okay.
than indicated in the guidelines.
Yeah, you get into, so just take that whole thing off?
Just
Just
take
that
off,
phrase.
starting at, than indicated in these guidelines.
Yep. So leave that open-ended. That's a good idea.
So everything is the discretion of the staff at this point.
Well, it is at the discretion of the staff, but it's not like we just go out and make things up. I mean,
No,
these
no.
are, yeah, we, you know, I mean, like, the first few things are really rarely gonna happen, and they're the ones that, like, you would face an immediate exclusion from. You know, we mostly get things where we say, can you really stop watching porn? If you don't stop watching porn, I'm gonna have to kick you out. And it stops immediately. You know what I mean? That's what typically happens. So if we need guidelines on how long to exclude somebody from, first of all, it's always a conversation that I'm in, unless it's, again, something that has to be stopped immediately. So it's always a conversation that I'm included in. And what we do is we go back and we say, what's consistent with how we've dealt with this in the past?
And clarify in the third paragraph, then you're gonna, there'll be a period after excluded from all library premises, period. So it's within the judgment, which I think makes sense. This is where you hire your
That's what I
staff to
would
have
do.
judgment.
The only other thing on the rules themselves is number 18. Improperly using library restrooms, including but not limited to bathing, washing hair, or doing laundry. I think sex raises its ugly head there in that, because I know this. They used to use the bathrooms at the rest stop where I used to be a tourism guide for all kinds of sexual activity. We used to have to call the
So
cops.
the question is, does that need to be spelled out?
I think that's in
Because-
number 5, right?
It's
I mean, doesn't 5 cover that?
Yeah.
engaging in sexual conduct is on number 5. And so that's the question. Does that need to be spelled out again there?
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to.
I mean,
Well,
so
I-
you could say the same thing for drug use. You can't shoot up in the bathroom, but that's covered by
Okay,
4.
that's fine. I
You know?
just raised the question if that needs to be double underlined. Then I've been in a lot of choirs, and in choirs, you can't have body odor, including perfume or cologne. Which if you inhale that stuff, you can really choke and gag. And so I'm wondering if that needs to be on number 23.
Well, I would include perfume under strong. I mean, if it's that strong that you're gagging somebody.
Yeah. So my wording is exhibiting extreme, strong, or offensive odor which disturbs others. This may include, but is not limited to, body odors or excessive cologne or perfume use.
It's just a matter of how much you want to spell it out.
I don't know.
I mean,
I
that's-
throw it out.
I mean, I was thinking of perfume. I would include perfume in there,
And cologne.
or whatever.
So well, yeah. See that you start that slippery slope, and then what? How many things are you going to list? So
What
these
do
are just
you guys
thoughts.
think?
I would tend to want to keep it generalized so that the staff has discretion.
Okay.
I'm all about the staff saying this is just not right, and letting them make that decision.
Sure.
If they get too bound up by the rules, then somebody's going to drag out the rules and say, "Oh, now I don't think so. You
I think
didn't
you're
treat
right.
me right."
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, if you start to become specific,
and their category is not in what you're being specific about, you've opened up an opportunity to go, well, you know,
Doesn't
my
say this.
whatever, my sage smoke is not on there, so I don't see
Yeah.
where that's offensive.
But I mean, definitely, we have thought of this because, Dawn, as you point out, I mean, some people are extremely sensitive to that as well, and they're gonna start like having a, you know, chemical reaction to it,
Right.
not be able to breathe.
Yeah.
So, all of the above, for sure. And
Okay.
believe me, those are like some of the harder conversations to have too.
Yeah, well, pointing it out, listing is one thing, but then where do you stop the list? I think you make a good point. And then if you miss one thing, wow,
Yeah.
who knew tuna fish, you know? Okay, those little notes that I've just kind of popped up there.
And you've got
I'm
somebody
fine.
who wants to say something, or Eileen. I don't know if you want to
do we
recognize
have
them or not.
Go ahead and state
Speak
your
to
name.
this.
We have a comment.
Yeah. This, number 21, where it talks about a child being responsible for another child at age 10. And I may be wrong, but I don't think children are allowed to stay home and take care of siblings until they're 12. And a 10-year-old could be a fourth grader, and a fourth grader responsible for the younger ones. That's a big thing. So I was thinking, you might want to think about the age, maybe making it 12. But you've been in the library, you know how it works, so
Right.
maybe not. It just
I've
seemed like
seen
a very young age.
I've seen libraries that allow children as young as 8 to watch other siblings. So I think the precedent has usually been that there's expectations that there may be families where siblings take care of each other. And I think the state law is 10 or 11 for a child to stay home alone. I believe it's 11. I don't think it's 12. I'm positive it's not 12.
Used to be.
It
and
used to
it's
be.
possibly they may have changed it.
I think I looked it up. I have a little bit of recollection of
feel like
like
it's 10
10
or-
ringing a bell, and there's a reason I put that in there, so I think that's what the state one is. But actually, I'm not 100% sure it's even that specific anymore. So, and I'm not sure it's like stay home alone and babysit. It might be just stay home alone at the age of 10. But I thought that 10, you know, 4th and 5th grade, I mean, there's a lot of 4th and 5th graders that are watching their younger siblings. So, I'm not sure it would be the same for, it's not the same for an evening event or something where there's nobody around. You know, this is just in the library during working hours, where there's a bunch of other adults around that could be called on. So,
Thank you.
any other comments on the content? By the way, what I'd like to do is get, you know, if these are good, and we can talk about the rest of the language, because I don't have much dog in that fight at all.
All
What I'd like to do is get motion after we have that conversation for like approval conditioned upon the city attorney approving the content of these. Because you may recall that when we first did these, whoever was around then, we ran these by him. And we may, because they're behavior guidelines and because people could face exclusion from the library because of these, we may have to actually go get them approved by the city commission. I just can't really remember what we did first time, so I have an email out to the city attorney for both of those to make sure we're not infringing anybody's rights. I don't think I have changed things substantially enough to be doing that from the original approved version, and then we may have to get them reapproved too, but if I could get them at some point conditionally approved by you, that's what I'm looking for tonight. Okay.
Do you want us to do that tonight or after the other changes have been made?
I would like to talk about the entirety of the behavior rules first, but I really wanted to answer specific questions on the rules themselves first.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to get to, the content of those, and see if they make sense to you. And if they're framed and phrased in such a way that are an improvement over what we've been trying to get to.
I I think I understand leaving it open in terms of the amount of time. I'm just thinking of it from a legal perspective. If what is the procedure if someone has violated one of the rules? Is there one warning, and then if they don't comply, is it exclusion then? Because it's not listed out what happens. Is it one verbal warning, and then if the behavior is not ceasing, at that point they will be asked to leave? I'm just thinking if there's a lawsuit and someone comes back and said, I wasn't told of my behavior, or I don't know. Do you see what I mean?
I assume this is why you need the city attorney to kind of give you some advice on that. And again, because some of these are more egregious than others.
Well,
violating.
Doesn't the city itself have some kind of behavioral rules on what happens in the city hall if somebody's goofy?
Well, they have a criminal code, and I'm not sure they do have their own behavior rules.
Okay.
They have them in other parts of the city, and I can tell you, like, the ones at the pool are based on hours. And so, like, in virtually all cases, they'd get a warning. I mean, most of these people get several warnings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And we also document, all of these interactions.
Right.
Very, very well, so that we have backup on,
Okay.
How much.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that what I'd like to do is proceed, and then if the red flag is raised on that issue by the city attorney, then I'd like to revise at that point, because these really haven't changed from what we approved before. Just like we've changed a little bit of the content of the rules, but how we've done it, that hasn't changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I can.
Good question.
I can make a motion that we provisionally approve these. I don't see any major
Well, what
change.
about your language?
Well, that's. I'm an old man, and I sit alone in my thing, and I read these things, and I'm saying, I remember my students when they said, I'm going to tell you a story. It's going to be a great story. The story's coming right up here, and you're going to be glad. Get to the story.
You're a good newspaper man.
So I'll just read it here, because I didn't have the means to photocopy this right away. But my wording for the top part of this is, to achieve the Oregon City Public Library's mission of providing materials and services to all members of the community, the following behavior rules, enforced by library staff, are in place to protect your rights and safety as a library patron, but also to protect the rights and safety of staff members and other patrons. These rules may also help preserve and protect library materials, facilities, and properties. Persons who violate the following rules may be ejected from the premises and excluded from all library premises. 1. Committee. So basically it just kind of gets to it.
Sounds fine to me.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my big effort there of the day.
My best. Excuse me. So, would you like to make a motion based on that being included?
My revisions, if you're all, do you want to read them before I?
You just read them to us.
I read them to you, but sometimes reading them. So I'll move that the behavior rules governing the use of Oregon City Public Library be conditionally approved as presented by me, I guess.
Except for the two changes that we have noted about the length of.
Yes, except for
those two places.
Right, except for the exclusion length and that stuff.
Second.
Third.
Is that clear as mud for people taking notes?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Awesome.
question about, then how do we notify people or inform people, the public? Are these posted as is, or?
They're posted in the library, and they're posted on the website. And technically speaking, when they get a new card, they're informed about that. And are they still giving copies?
I
supposed to
don't, I
be.
don't know if they are. We used to have those packets, but I don't know if we still do that.
Yeah.
But it's on the city's website too, I think, under library rules.
Yeah.
They're
So
all
it's
over.
it's out there.
Okay.
And that's part of our education when we are warning people. It's like, you know, we say, you know, I'm sorry, you can't do that. I need you to stop. That's against the library behavior policy or whatever, you know. So they know it's out there. So the next thing that we should address then is the unattended children in the library. And then that basic change was any child under 8 who is alone in the library or unaccompanied by a responsible adult or sibling over the age of 10. And Dawn has again revised it with no doubt that it sounds better.
Well, I'll explain why. Again, it's the Oregon City Public Library welcomes children. Good, we knew that. Library staff members are trained to help children with library materials and services. Okay, but it still doesn't talk about children policy. We want to provide a safe and appropriate environment for all library users. Again, another statement. You can't argue with it, but it doesn't really get to why we're reading this piece of paper. However, our library is a public building, and childcare is not the role of library staff. Aha, here we are. So I read that. I said, well, that's great, but somebody wanting to know what the nut of this is probably would want something like this. Parents and caregivers are responsible for the safety, comfort, and behavior of their children while in the library, period. Your child must come to the library with a responsible person, and stay in that person's care during the child's stay. That's kind of funny in there, but basically you have to stick with the person you came with. Any of the following situations and others, as determined by library staff, will result in staff attempting to contact the child's parent or guardian, and if that is not successful, the child will be placed in the care of the appropriate local law enforcement agency. I had trouble with that word will, because that's really strict, but on the other hand, you guys are not babysitters. You're not going to take the kid home if it's not there. You need to go in to get them into the system. So that's...
There is a lost child in the library, and we, you know, like has that ever happened?
It had happened.
Lost, completely lost, left alone, like for hours and hours.
Yeah. When we were up at Hilltop, it happened. Not
that
when
was
you
before
were,
me.
Yeah, before your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People eventually came back after they did their grocery shopping and, you know, did other things, but yeah, we don't have that problem so much anymore.
No, I mean, people get separated from their children. They may want to run away from their children, but it's very, very rare.
It's funny how that's just a thing to kind of get to the... So people have very little time anymore to read all this stuff. They want to get right to it.
I mean, like I said, I don't have like a dog in the fight of these introductions.
Okay.
I would prefer not to use all caps as you've got.
I just did that to show you what I changed.
Okay.
No, I'm not yelling. I'm just saying these are my changes as opposed to... I think I couldn't do red.
Sure.
I ran out of red on my pen, so I couldn't do red.
Don, would you pass that one along?
Yes.
Here's another copy. You guys can take a look at it.
So I lined out the original, and then I put it in my stuff in big cappy things there, so you can see what I...
Okay, I get it. I get it.
might say child's visit or
Oh, I suppose. I don't care.
that stay 2 or 3 times in the same sentence.
Probably. Good. Every editor needs an editor.
Okay.
I'm fine with Don's
I'm fine with the changes.
changes, yeah.
I didn't touch the bullets down there.
Right.
It
Those are the
needs to
same.
be short and
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever can help get people's
Then
attention.
I moved the threat of going to the agency or whatever it is up to here. So
Earlier threaten them
Yeah.
early, right?
threaten
Yeah.
earlier.
Early
right.
and often.
And often. Or inform them early and often.
Right, so in this case, we want the same kind of motion that recommends,
Yeah, this
we
one,
recommend this.
this one probably doesn't have to go in front of the attorney. It's,
oh, okay.
you know, I mean, it's kind of obvious. If we have a child who's truly alone and lost, we are going to do something about it.
Right.
That's really simple enough.
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion that we accept the policy as introduced by Don Wright. And that we implement it. Do we need, so we're not gonna refer it to the attorney, so we
No.
just need to implement it.
Not this one, as far as I know, yeah. Okay?
Second?
I just came up with a question, sorry.
Right.
How do we define child?
Well, in this case, it would be the 8 and unders. These are for the 8 and unders.
Okay.
Oh, it says so in here, yeah, okay.
So we have a second?
Actually, under.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This passes for the child alone in the library policy.
Okay. Great, thank you. Then, let's see here. I think the collection development policy is,
Bulletin board, right?
yeah, we have bulletin board and collection development. We have
Right.
those two.
Which one are you gonna take?
Let's take the big one,
Oh, yeah.
Collection development.
collection development. So you had asked if, us to put in a self-publish, what to do with self-published
Right.
submissions. So we added on page 5, a whole bunch of text about that. And I think I left red the other things that were new as of the previous, like had been changed before, but that's the only new part for this version. I believe that was like the big question that you guys had that you wanted to see addressed.
Thank you. I think that does help, makes it very clear, so.
They're hard.
Mhm.
They're really hard.
But it does give people,
Something to go
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like the additions that you made here,
Mm-hmm.
like for gifts and donations. That's always kind of a sore point. They give an old dictionary and they expect to see it on the shelf. I can't do it.
Still get people who walk in and, also part of this is training staff.
Yeah.
And giving them like the language to talk to people when people come in and say, here's this book, this fabulous book, and I can't wait to see it in the library collection. And you're just like, yeah, all right, that'll be waiting 100 years. There's just no promises involved, but the people like have this expectation. So it's great to have it in here, but then part 2 is getting your staff up to speed.
part of that difficult conversation training.
No, yeah, that's when you have to send everybody to difficult conversation training. Yeah.
I thought all the changes seemed appropriate.
Librarians are warriors, aren't they?
These,
Sometimes they're-
what's also good is that our new librarians helped create this document, so they're very well invested in.
I think the self-publishing ones, it's excellent. And yeah,
We
that's,
mostly lifted it from another library, of course. Right, any other questions on collection development?
I move that we approve this. I like it.
Seconded.
Everyone who approves, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? The collection development policy passes.
Who knew we'd have to do something about building codes?
So the only, that's something else. The only one that remains is, for policies, is the community information and bulletin board policy, and we mostly lifted this from other libraries too. We get a surprising number of requests and non-requests for people to post stuff on our bulletin board. A lot of people just stick stuff up there and don't ask. But then there are people who ask, and we're just like, no, that's not what it's for. And so we realized we really needed something that we could hand to them and say, this is the kind of stuff it's for. It's really not for that. Because no matter where you are, you're going to have limited space. You know, at some point, you're going to have limited space. So we really don't want personal ads. We really don't want guitars for sale. We really don't want that kind of stuff there. You know, and in the new library, we're not going to have a bulletin board that would be able to encompass that stuff either. So this came about because we had somebody who wanted to post stuff. She was nice enough to ask, and we immediately said no. And we needed to be able to say, and this is why. So that's why this exists.
And would this also include the shelves where you've got all kinds of little materials? I suppose people also come in and ask, can I put out my
they just put them
pamphlets?
there.
They just put
Yeah,
them
but that this does go to the community information piece. And that is, that's like way harder. I have to tell you, that's way harder because somebody will come in with like a stack of really nicely printed stuff and you're looking at it and you're like, well, that's great, but I mean, we just get so much of it. And so like, how do you make a decision? It's not like there's any bad stuff out there necessarily, but some of it is pretty peripheral, you know? But then again, you know, it's all information for the most part. We don't get like non-informational pieces, but yeah, it takes up vast
Takes up a
quantities
lot
of
of
space.
space.
Yeah. But this gives us at least the ability to say, no, we really don't want it. And here's some reasons, but it's really more the personal ads and stuff that are more like, no, we really don't want that on the bulletin board next to the library board agenda.
So, there are a couple of references in here for Board of Trustees,
Oh.
Library Board of Trustees. We need to
Yeah.
change that.
Okay.
It's in 4 and 7.
Gotcha. And you guys just don't go by that label.
Right. So, other than that, I'm happy with the policy. But Don?
Yeah, I'm good. No, I shot my cannons across the bow there.
Come on, you're our expert in vetting these things now.
Well, he vetted it for me. I didn't have to do a thing.
You're a good sharer.
I know.
So we have a motion to approve the Community Information Bulletin Board policy.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The Information Bulletin Board policy passes.
Guys, we made huge progress this month. Now, the meeting room stuff is still out there. And what we're doing is, one thing that you asked me to do is kind of align the policies a little bit more so they're, you know, formatted similarly and have more alignment between what's allowed or what's not allowed, knowing that it can't all be exactly the same. So, so Gina is looking at that because she's really good at like looking at two disparate things and making them feel similar. And I'm overwhelmed. So she's doing that. Hopefully we'll have that next month. Don't let me forget to talk about next month because maybe it will be the month after that. Okay, building report. So, before we talk about the building, I wanted to kind of bring you guys up to date on the move. And I had included these FAQs that we posted. We started talking to Network Office about kind of just the circulation of materials. That was one of our big things that we had to work out while we're closed. And so thus we ended up having, you know, kind of a big picture of like, you know, here's the timeline, here's what's going to happen, here's what's not going to be available, here's what's going to happen to your books that you have checked out, that are on hold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll reopen on such and such a date, hopefully. So we, since we needed to start doing, often what drives things is like some logistical little detail, right? And so we needed to start, people's due dates that they were getting was starting to get into this period of time or getting close to it. And people were also requesting interlibrary loans that might come in during this time, and we needed to be able to say, you can start your interlibrary loan request here, but you may have to pick it up somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. In fact, we're going to ask you to pick it up somewhere else because we don't know when that's going to come in. So all of those little logistical things kind of drove this happening. So we ended up with this document, which we've, of course, posted on our website and Facebook. And Gina created bookmarks today and signs that specifically refer to it, but also just have this little cute graphic of a guy with a pallet and stuff moving a cart and everything, and just kind of like, heads up, people, we're getting ready for the big move. It's going to happen. So that's kind of that part of it. And so far, have we had any complaints about being
that I've
closed?
heard of, no.
Yeah.
People are too excited about what's going to happen.
Yeah, everybody is like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting, you're going to close. Yes, because it means we're moving, into the new building. So everybody has got really their eye on the prize, and it's awesome. So, yeah, not any complaints about that at all. So I feel like we've got this, we've got other libraries in the loop because they're going to feel the impact of our patrons going elsewhere if they want to go somewhere. But we've also set up programming during the move where, like the summer reading program for the kids, those programs will continue at the Pioneer Center. And what's really cool is that's where they happen all the time anyway. So no change. And then the story times, they'll just also move over to the Pioneer Center. So it's really nice having that facility like within like half a block of us. And then Barrett's going to try to do some other outdoor activities, like bubbles and stuff like that. So, and we purposefully have not scheduled any other adult things during that time. So I feel like we kind of have a grip on, what's going on, and we're getting that information out there pretty well. And far enough in advance that we can answer people's questions. And we put it in the email newsletter, some information about this, and then for the July email newsletter, I can like be more expansive. But it was actually, it had some details in it. So that's kind of that. As far as the building looks amazing, both inside and out. Some of you have been in it. It has actually carpet on the floor in some places. Wow. It has more paint.
Lights.
It has lights, fixtures hanging down. Completed ceiling upstairs, thus lights.
Half an elevator.
Half an elevator, yeah.
Okay.
Here. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how they put an elevator together. Apparently, one small piece at a time. So everything is pretty much coming together. They're paving yesterday and today that strip in front of the sidewalk, the curb on John Adams. So they've got the curbs all the way around. On the 6th Street side, the little rumble strip where the ADA parking is going to be, that's installed. The playground is virtually complete, except, the concrete part of it. It still needs its surface, but there are now cutouts for the equipment is going to go. Landscaping is going to start like relatively soon, like in a week or something. Mm-hmm. So there's still a lot of work to do, but it is really shaping up. So the thing that remains out there as kind of a whatever in my craw, whatever that little saying is the shelving. The shelving was not ordered as early as we planned on it being ordered. This was due to multiple reasons, all of which I'm sure are my fault, because I'm the director. So So I've accepted that responsibility at some
Blame
point
it
in
on me.
time.
I don't care.
But it's kind of making the logistics for the move kind of difficult. So originally, the shelving and the furniture was all supposed to be installed by July 7th. And then starting July 7th, staff and the Carnegie furniture would just move in. And, you know, all the materials and stuff, right? And then we would easily have the Carnegie emptied by July 13th. Well, we still need to have the Carnegie emptied by July 13th. But it's quite possible that the shelving will not show up until July 11th, which means that they'll be installing it at the same time as staff is trying to move in. Yeah. From what I hear from DA and those much wiser about buildings than I, is that things like this always happen. And in the end, people are always on top of each other. And it'll all work out. So I have faith in miracles, and I know you do too. And it will all be fine. There will be some things like potentially the art sculpture that may not go in this phase. It may end up getting installed a little bit later because the artist now says he needs more time. And these things happen, right? So that's kind of where that is. We're working on it. We don't have, you know, this had to come out. A time frame had to come out for people. We had to start making plans with Network and the other libraries. We had to tell people something. So, but what I tried to be was kind of like, this could change. So our goal is to keep our closure under 3 weeks and to get the contractors in the Carnegie on time. Time is money. They need to start when they said they needed the plan, date plan. So those are our two big goals, and we think we can do that. We have no reason to believe we can't. It just might be really interesting while it's going on.
Oh, interesting is a good word.
Interesting.
Thank you.
So what else can you contribute about the building, DA? You're so much better at specifics than I am.
We're on budget. And really, we're on schedule.
Yeah.
So there's for instance, the elevator guys, 2 guys putting together an elevator. You know, Dave says to Chad, I think I'll turn it another quarter turn on that nut. What do you think, Chad? Well, let's talk about that. And so it's been extremely slow, but they will get done. I believe that the contractor will probably authorize them to do a little bit of overtime on Friday and Saturday of this week and kind of speed things along. So these
work
are
4 days a week.
Yeah, these are
4/10s.
Well, these are highly sophisticated elevator union guys who have very specific tasks, and elevators historically need to be done right.
Yeah, we want them to work. Yeah.
Family as well.
You know, if one of the air conditioning units is on the fritz, it isn't such a big deal as when the elevator doesn't work.
Right.
So, anyway, and that's a focus right now. But on the other hand, the city is still, I think, giving the contractors a bit of grief about what's going on in the right-of-ways in the streets around Carnegie. We're still not done there, but the gas line went in yesterday, and it's happening. So
Yeah, it's all coming together.
And with this good weather, that's made a break for the outside work. And I was here a week ago Tuesday watching them do the large concrete pour that underlays the children's area and so forth, and that was going extremely well. And we've just got a great contractor doing a great job for us right now.
You have a really good contractor. They're really good to work with. We
But
have a good team.
But once again, I do want to compliment you, Mo, on this plan, this move plan, having it written out, and everybody's on board with it, including all those other people that don't have a thing to do with this, but they will feel the impact in the other libraries around here. So
Oh, yeah.
anyway, this is not something we normally get from an owner. So it's really cool to see this out there. And everybody knows what we're going to be doing. So,
Until it changes.
yeah.
Thank you, DA.
But there we are.
The basics will be.
So I have
Yeah.
a question on your slideshow.
Uh-huh.
There's a picture of it looks like child's writing of OC Library.
The last slide, that was from, I don't remember his name, but Merrillhurst Montessori School up at Mount Pleasant. They did this fantastic project where they visited a whole bunch of Oregon City landmarks. In fact, they went to the Friends
Stores and
bookstore.
things.
Yeah, and just places in Oregon City. And they wrote up about it. It was very thematic. They did all kinds of writing and they did pictures, and then they had this presentation last Thursday that Barrett went to. So she met the whole class, gave them the tour, talked about it, da-da-da-da-da. And then they sent her an invitation, and that was the invitation to the presentation. Where if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see pictures of the kids in their presentation. And one of the kids was a librarian, and they had to dress like whatever profession or whatever thing that they chose. There were some really clever costumes. I mean, somebody was a chip because they went to whatchamajiggers.
The Mexican.
The place
Dressed
across
like
the
a
street.
tortilla chip.
So he was just like a tortilla chip. Really, really clever. But Mr. Librarian was dressed with a white shirt and dark pants. Very staid and whatever. Because Barrett is not staid at all, but whatever.
Neither are the men that work at our library.
Yeah, neither are the men that work at our library, not staid. But anyway, a stereotype, it never dies. But that's what that was. That was the invitation to Barrett to go to that thing.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just extremely cute. So she's doing a really good job on reaching out to those kinds of groups. And she went, I know, to a Head Start thing as well. And to it was just a few families, but it was English as a second language, the parents of those kids up at Gaffney Lane School. So it's good. It's starting to happen as far as that outreach component. Good question, Don.
How are you distributing your facts? You said I went through them.
These are on the website. They're printed out in the library. They've been posted on Facebook.
Okay.
They probably could. Oh, and it went out. The FAQs didn't go out, but this information went out in our email newsletter in June, and I'll put
Okay.
them out again in July.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't be bad to punch it out again.
Oh yeah, probably we should do it. Like focus on one fact every week or something.
Something, but
I'll give that to my social media person.
there you go.
I have a really good person doing social media these days, so.
The book, you said you just did bookmarks, so I assume will you be handing something to people as they check
Yeah,
out?
so the bookmarks, thanks, because that's brand new, and I just saw them on somebody's phone because it just happened today, and I was at some place where I wasn't looking at any email. So bright yellow with the little hand truck guy, and then on the back side it refers to these FAQs on our website.
As much as I hate banners and signage, is there been any talk about doing something that could be visually seen for people driving, saying, with the little hand truck, as that library will be closed? Because a lot of people just don't go to a website and look, but they do look at the new construction and to
Right.
go, oh, the library's going to close?
Well, there's a little sign that could be posted in the door that was the forerunner to the bookmark. So it's bright yellow. It probably could be, noticed from the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but our open sign is now green and our closed sign is now red because a patron had that idea and we thought it was excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, now if you just see green from the street, you know what's going on. You don't have to walk all the way up to the door if you can't see that far, right?
Great minds.
Right? I know. I love when people give us ideas like that. So clever. People are so clever. So anything else about the building? It is going really well. We haven't started planning our grand opening. We really are like so busy that we have not thought about any fantastic ideas. I hate to mention this, but because it sounds like work to me, but the Canby Library, which is also new, they are they're asking, we're having our directors group meeting this week, and they're going to be asking, this is on the agenda, this is not like out there for the public yet, but they're going to be trying to do a commemorative library card for their new library. I'm not sure how much work that is for the consortium to come up with, so I'm not sure if that's like a good thing or not. I haven't heard the conversation about it, but it did get me to thinking like, we probably should come up with something witty and memorable and that people can actually have in their hand kind of thing. I don't really want to talk about it right now, but I'm just throwing that out there in case people have those ideas. Because we really do need to start thinking about our grand opening. It's going to come faster than we think, you know? So, any ideas would be appreciated. You know where to find me. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have anything for communications?
I don't know what DA already gave you about the foundation. Did you hand out minutes?
I didn't get a.
Well, let me tell you, we had such a darn good time at the Hard Hat Tour, and any of you were there, thank you, Jan, thank you, Mo, thank you, DA, and anybody that wrote checks, thank you. And the vibe in that building was so fabulous that night, and since then we've been getting checks, and it's wonderful, and we're going to pay for our share. We're going to get it done somehow in some amount of time. We're still working on it. We still need to raise more money, which then leads me to say 3 times already, and as much as my husband and I can handle, because other people don't seem to be stepping up to the bat, we've been going to the farmers market so that we can acquaint people in Oregon City with our Collins Grant Foundation. TV people, listen here. We have a grant for $25,000 that matches the first $100, new $100 of every donor, and that will be going on until September 1st. So we're trying to get, I'm there accosting people. I said to my husband, you never knew I was this good of a salesperson. I always used to be the shy little girl that couldn't sell those raffle tickets. But it's really important that we have lots of people in the whole community involved, and that's where they're going to be involved. And you don't know how many people that said, yes, I'm taking a brochure and I'll get back to you. So we had a great time that night. It was fabulous.
Worked out really, really well.
Really well. We had
Really
to
fun.
stop serving alcohol so people would go home.
It sounds like it went on for a while.
It did. It did. But you know, that reassured me too, because the Carnegie was like, that's where everybody ended up at the end of the tour, and it was such a nice space to hang out, you know?
Mhm.
So that was good too, because it will be that way in the future as well, you know?
And remember, everybody in the foundation's a volunteer, and we worked really hard for that Hard Hat Tour. And Scott, you were there. Did you have a good time?
It was an amazing time. You guys did a great job on it.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but we really had a good time. We were just so excited, sky high excited. DA, you want to say anything about what you saw from your end? You led one of the tours.
Oh,
didn't you?
we had a lot of questions. I mean, I think maybe I had a lot more technical questions, except Joan Jasper, our architect, had plenty of things to say
Okay.
about the place also. But so I'm pleased when they ask technical questions, because it's far more interesting to an engineer, you know. But anyway, and you have a follow-up tour actually scheduled on Monday, the
Right,
13th,
13th.
for the latent donors, is what we're calling them.
What? Latent donors?
Latent donors.
What, how does that, what's the definition of that?
You've been there once, Don, you're not one.
I may be.
Well, this is really more for people who couldn't make it the first time.
Ah.
It's very small, it's like 13 people.
I forget how did the invitation list go? How did you determine who you invited?
I don't know if we wanted too public, but people who had donated $100 or more,
Yeah.
or people we expected to donate $100 or more.
Okay.
So the Leighton tour doesn't get any wine or food, they just get a tour.
No, yeah, they do, they only get a tour. None of the
And I
fun,
would say
fun
that
stuff, yeah.
the Monday after the tour, I took checks to the bank.
Mhm.
Very pleasing amounts, and lots of people pledged.
Okay.
Well, the Friends of the Library again said that we would pay the cultural passes.
Thank
And
you.
we twisted
Yeah.
our arms. No, it's kind of a routine thing, but we did vote on that. So I just need the invoice.
You have the invoice.
I have it? Okay.
Oh, wait, I'll talk to you. Linda was
Yes.
gonna pick that up, but it's sitting on,
Okay.
apparently she did.
That's
Okay.
fine. And to pay for things like this is part of the payment that supports this is membership dues. And so we were talking today about the fact, I wonder if all the library board members are members of the Friends of the Library, because that would help support these other activities. And our dues are very reasonable. They're like $10. We were talking about raising those. So if you want to get on board before we raise them, they're $10, $15, $20, depending upon the category. But, next meeting, I'll bring the applications. So I'm sorry I didn't have those today. So.
I didn't know you were a membership organization, so that's helpful to
The
know.
Friends.
The Friends.
The Friends.
Not the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're
We
the
don't
money,
raise very much.
We're the money people. And after we were talking today too about after the building is done and the primary purpose at this point of the foundation is going to change, but we're still the one that supply the program funds for the programs and other needs for the library. So we would still be in a money-making mode, just not in the quantities that the foundation has been doing.
Are there membership forms at the bookstore?
Yes, there are.
I try to stop in about once a month.
Yeah. So they do have those at the front desk. So yep. I just didn't put that in my brain to bring. So.
Any
Okay.
questions? Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your work.
both.
Thank you for all your work.
Are there any future agenda items?
Oh, well, before we get to adjournment, so our next meeting would be,
Right in the middle of
right in the middle
everything.
of moving. Whenever it is, it's right in the middle of moving. So I was hoping that I could just send you an update and we could skip
good.
or something.
That'd be great.
Or I could let you know if things have gone south or whatever.
We've done
Otherwise-
that in the
Work.
past.
I mean, we
Huh?
could have a working board meeting, schlepping stuff.
Well, thank you for your offer. We'll have to see how organized we even are. Some other people have volunteered too, and it's I want to be sure that staff have specific roles to do during this first, and that it goes according to plan before I get a lot of other people involved. So we'll see. We've engaged some movers to help us with a lot of the hard work, So, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Okay. So the next board meeting will be council.
August.
Need a motion for that, or?
I think we just need to agree on it.
So
That's
we
fine.
have
Fine.
So formally, we'll meet in August then.
we'd meet in August, the second Wednesday in August. Okay. So
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
approval of that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
A lot's going to happen between now and then, so I'll just plan on seeing an email or two from me. Okay.
Okay. All right. So if there's no other future items, I call for adjournment at 6:17.